Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's conversation on the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. Dusty here, as always, joined today by Matt Ragland. We're going to talk about his YouTube channel here in a second, but let me give you a little bit about who he is. He's a creator-operator hybrid, which I love that word, by the way, who's been able to build audiences for his own ideas and work behind the scenes with creators like Ryan Holiday, who I'm a big fan of, Sahil Bloom, and Justin Welsh. Again, big fan of that guy as well. He was employee number 5 at ConvertKit, which I know ConvertKit, now known as Kit. I've used them for my email newsletter. And he now runs a community for creators called Hey Creator. So, Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dusty. Thanks for having me. I've been following your channel and show as well, so this is an honor. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I was telling you off air, I stumbled across your channel a few years back. It might have been during COVID, and we had some extra time on our hands, and I was like, you know what? I'm interested in bullet journaling, and I always did digital journaling, but I never did anything kind of analog, and I was like, I enjoy watching these videos on YouTube, and your channel just kept coming up, and I made a note that I wanted to get in touch with you, and of course, it's been a while, but I finally did, and super excited to have you on the show. Now, tell my audience what they would find if they went to your channel. So if they go to your channel right now, what would they find?
Yeah, so it's all about, I call it analog action. And you mentioned the bullet journal, and it is the main topic keyword that I'm known for on YouTube. And something else I'm sure it'd be fun to talk about is like trying to potentially break out of a niche that you're in on YouTube. Is it worth it? How much effort should you put into it? So what you'll see, the majority, I've tried to do that a couple of times, but every time I do, I just post another bullet journal video and the views go right back up and the subscribers come in. But that's what you're going to find. And the thing that, if you're familiar with the bullet journal, then you may look at this and think, oh, well, those are the beautiful notebooks that I see that are very like artsy and have a lot of stickers, and I need to buy like 100 different colored pens and highlighters. And what I do, as the meme says, ain't nobody got time for that. I use pen, paper. I keep it very minimalist, and of course that's a great keyword as well, but I keep it very minimalist. Like, hey, what I'm here to do is to write down tasks, ideas, and execute on them. And so that's what I use the bullet journal for. It is ironically like much closer, I think, to the heart of the bullet journal method, which was coined and created by Ryder Carroll, I think 2012, 2013. So it's been around a little while, but that has definitely been like my primary vehicle to YouTube success and audience building.
Yeah, I certainly want to touch on what do you do when you're in a niche or a space and you already have an established audience and you want to kind of break away from that, because it's very interesting that you say that. I had a client on a call this week, in a coaching call, and that was their exact question. They had over 100,000 subscribers. They had built this beautiful audience. I had helped them build it over the past year or so, and now all of a sudden they want to do something else.
Right.
It's a lot harder, and it's unfortunately very difficult in today's YouTube, and we'll certainly talk on that.
Yeah,
but I want to first kind of take a kind of step back for a second. Tell us the story of the channel. If I sort by oldest video, it looks like it was 12 years ago when you did the first video, but it was really 8 years ago when you started doing the bullet journaling and things like that. And so if you would, tell my audience just the story and the journey it took you to get to where your channel is now with the success that you've had. And I haven't mentioned it. You're just under 250 videos, right at 100,000 subscribers, 99,500. So if you're listening to this, go over to Matt's channel, press that subscribe button. Let's get him that play button. But give us the full story of the channel.
Yeah, I have been creating content online for, I think 2011 was when I set up my first like serious blog, because that was the thing back then. And there were a couple of like people I was reading back then, Michael Hyatt, copy blogger, pro blogger, Jeff Goins was somebody else that I befriended and gave me a lot of encouragement. And I started that around 2011, and I really enjoyed writing. I actually started a podcast and did 25 episodes of a show in 2013, 2014, which is like interesting to think about 10 years later. But then I started working at ConvertKit, now Kit. I was employee number 5, like you said, and I was really focusing on startups, my career. I was still writing. I'd actually applied for a few content marketing jobs at Buffer and Help Scout before I landed at Kit to do customer success and marketing. And I never lost that feeling of wanting to be a creator, though. And one of the things that I hadn't tried yet was YouTube, but it was something like making videos was always something that I enjoyed doing. Like I have my favorite classes in high school, I'm class of 2002, so a little while ago, was TV production, like mini DV tapes and just doing like dumb skits with my friends and recording them and putting them on. And so like I had some editing understanding. I knew how to like set up some shots and how to like just make something that was interesting. And I was also watching a lot of Casey Neistat in 2017. And so there was a desire from me to let's just try and make something fun. And it was February 2017 where I got like more serious about it. I was like, it's February, I'm going to do 30 videos in 30 days. And so I did a daily vlog for those 30 days, and daily vlogging is hard. And I was still working at Kit at the time, and I continued to create videos, usually like once a week, sometimes twice a week. And around August, September of 2017, I was doing a lot of workflow sharing, talking about like what I was doing at Kid, how we were onboarding new customers, some of the things that we were doing from product management and design perspective, work trips that I was going on. So really still more vlog content. And part of that was I started sharing like workflows and how I plan and stay productive, especially like we had our first child at that point. He was 2 years old. We were traveling a lot, and I really needed a plan to like stay focused and productive. And so I shared something like, here's how I plan my week in a bullet journal. And that was, I think, like my 60th video, give or take. And most of my videos at that time were doing just 100 or 200 views at that point. And it wasn't until a couple of months later, as I was doing like kind of a year in review, I looked at my channel history and saw that the bullet journal video was far outperforming every other video that I had created at that point. And we're talking like 600 views. So it still wasn't like crazy, but when most of your videos are 50 to 100 views, when something's 600 or 700 views, you're like, oh, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. And I've always been someone who like likes to plan a year, likes to set some goals. And so I was like, I'm going to make a couple of videos at the end of new year, new me, new year planning, and say, planning a new year in a bullet journal. The title was better than that, but that was essentially it. And my thought was, I hope this is the video that eventually could help me get to 1,000 subscribers, because at the time I had made like 75 videos that year and I had 600 or 700 subscribers. Well, within just a few days, and I had not had any videos that went over 1,000 views. Within just a few days, that video was over 1,000 views. And then within a week, I was over 1,000 subscribers. And that kicked off something that I always recommend YouTubers do, and really this applies for any type of content, is if you spend time over the course of several months trying out different niches or trying out different topics, different overlaps of like topic and audience and ways to talk about it, could even be like platform, is look back and see what's performing well, and then as much as you can double down on that, and even double down on it following the feedback of your viewers, of your readers, of your listeners. And that, I think YouTube is better at that than any other platform. And the way that I then ran my channel for the next 6 months was to just continue to make workflow videos focused on the bullet journal and other type of, analog action taking items. But I would always like drop everything if I saw a comment in a video that was asking for a further explanation of something that I had brought up in a previous video. So one example was I used this strategy called like the 10 block method. You have 10 4-hour blocks per week. So how are you using those? I mean, you can break them up some, but that was like the easiest thing to talk about. And a lot of people were asking about that. So I made 2 videos about 10 blocks, and then, which is essentially time blocking. And then I, just has like, hey, one of the reasons that I'm able to stay focused and productive and understand like how to time block is that I actually track my time. And so like I showed my time tracking grid, and people were like, oh, tell me more about that. So 3 videos about time tracking. Between that video coming out the week before Christmas, 2017, going into 2018, by middle of 2018, I was over 10,000 subscribers just following that flywheel.
So you basically, exactly what you said was that you took something that you saw success with, and as a coach, this is something that we tell people all the time. Look at your channel now, sort by most popular, look at the data, look at the watch time, see what's performing for you, and if you enjoy that, like you said, double down on it and kind of take that train and see where it leads you. Now, I've got a couple follow-up questions for you, and it'll lead into the topic we were just talking about at the open. Now that you kind of set this car in motion and you became basically the bullet journal guy, right? Like on YouTube, you became, that's Matt, anyone that I saw on other channels and in forums and on subreddits, your content was being linked when it was a bullet journal stuff. So when that happened, and it's really hard to stop a car in motion. So when that happened, were you okay with it short term, like getting started? Obviously you found success, you were able to monetize, do those things. But as it went, at what point did you realize, or okay, I really can't do anything else but just bullet journal? Like when did that happen and what did you do?
It's a really good question. I'm glad you brought it up because it's something now in retrospect that I encourage anyone who's getting into the creator game, and especially if you want to be a full-time creator, to think seriously about any kind of success that you have, and if it's really what you want to have success in. And at the time, and I think a lot of people fall into this, I won't call it a trap. It's a good thing to have success, but I was like, great, I'm over 1,000, I'm over 3,000, I'm over 5,000, I'm over 10,000. This is great, awesome. This is the most success that I've had building an audience. And I do think, I certainly believe that looking back, part of why I was able to be successful at that time, and then each subsequent success is based on experiences and minor under the radar successes or experiences that I've had up to that point. But I did find it hard, say a year later into 2019 and into 2020, to shift the narrative of the channel away from the bullet journal, or to even make it branch out into other relevant, let's just say, productivity and planning niches. I've had some success with platform tutorials, like, hey, here's how you do this in Notion or ClickUp or a calendar like Akiflow or Woven back in the day. I've had success with those types of productivity software tutorials, but it always comes back to the bullet journal. And often even the templates that I'm showing people how to create in Notion are still based on hey, if you're used to doing something like this in a bullet journal, here's how you could recreate that experience in a tool like Notion or ClickUp. And so it was still the soul of it was bullet journal. And so I do think that if you can pull yourself out of the momentary success and think okay, this is cool, I'm going to put this down as maybe something I could return to, but is this really what I want to make the next, 2 or 3 years about minimum? And I got to tell you, now that I'm even past that into year 5, 6 of being consistent on YouTube, that's still very much the case. And I know we talked about this earlier, is I don't think anymore that I could transition this channel specifically away from anything that is bullet journal or very analog pen and paper related. I won't even do Notion tutorials on there anymore.
I started the podcast about 12 years ago. And as you were talking, I started thinking, 12 years ago, I wanted to grow a podcast. I was listening to like Leo Laporte, Smart Passive Income podcast. I was listening to all these podcasts that I was interested in. And I was like, I want to do a podcast. And I thought to myself then, well, I'm starting a YouTube channel. I just got monetized. I know a lot about YouTube. I was going through the process of becoming YouTube certified. I'm just going to do YouTube podcast. And I quit for about a year after about 11 episodes when the only people listening were my mom. And then I started back when I realized that people were actually listening. And now that I've been doing this for going on 13 years now, and we're getting up to 450 episodes of the show, I will say that I'm very thankful that I did it about something that I really loved. I love talking with creators. I love YouTube. I don't think I could have done it about kind of fly-by-the-seat things that are hobbies that I had or things that I'm just slightly interested in. It would be very hard to be motivated and keep churning out the content. Whereas now, like today, I was so looking forward to this conversation with you, and every day that I had these conversations, it still kind of burns the fire. And with YouTube, when you're in the early stages, you do the bullet journal videos. At that point, you're seeing number go up, and you're just like, oh, I'm going to throw some more stuff at this. Number's going up. But then you realize that this is your life, right? And with that happening, you're now going to have to keep throwing stuff in the fire to find that success, to repeat that over and over again. And I will say, looking at your channel, you are seeing success with some productivity stuff, the digital stuff, and with time, with time, you can increase the audience. But like you said, the realization of the Matt Ragland YouTube channel is going to probably be known for bullet journal stuff for forever. And if I wanted to do something different, I would need to launch something else, whether it be a different platform,
launch a new channel.
Different new. Talk about that now. If you wanted to do something.
Channel. And I've been actually experiencing that this year. So you mentioned at the beginning, during the very nice intro, is that I also run a creator for communities called Hey Creator. And part of what we're doing in Hey Creator is that we have a YouTube channel, we have a podcast, we have things that we're sharing. And we had the real discussion, and then we actually ran a couple of little experiments to say, like, hey, if we run this same video on my channel, how's it going to perform? Because a new channel doesn't have anything. It's not monetized. It's not like, that's a pain, no matter who you are. And it can, I think, ironically, like, feel more frustrating sometimes if you've had success, because you're like, hey, I know these are the things that you're supposed to do. Why am I still at 200 subs? Or why haven't I got over 1,000 now, but I still need like all these watch hours. What am I missing? What am I not doing right? When, there are so many things to consider. But when we ran those experiments, be like, hey, let's just not even as much specificity to the Hey Creator channel itself. Like, what if I just ran more of a creator focused video, and even couch some of it in productivity advice. And it did fine overall if you're looking at it, but it way underperformed for any other type of video that I would have done. And the thing that I try and think about now when it comes to developing those other channels is that you just really got to not start from scratch, because you have all the knowledge and expertise that you've built over the years. You can still apply that. The other thing that I've tried to do honestly, middling success, is just to pump the other channel on my main channel. So in-screen videos, another way that I've done this. And the thing that I like about a bullet journal and then productivity in general is that, and this is something else to think about as you're considering expanding your audience or your topic list, is there a way that I can find some kind of overlap that I can use my main topic or channel as a Trojan horse to talk about other things? And so I could, as I'm doing hey, I'm planning the week type of video for the 30th time, is and say, hey, what I'm working on this week is that I'm doing a podcast. I'm doing a podcast with Dusty. Right. I'm interviewing Dan next week. It's for the Hey Creator Show. Check out link in the description, or throw a card up in the top right. Say you can subscribe to that channel if you are this type of person or viewer, if you're watching this and you're trying to build a YouTube channel or you're trying to start an online creator business, go here and check it out. So that has been successful. It hasn't been quite as much of an impact as I would have initially hoped. But that's, I think, if we're not talking about paid or partner traffic going to the channel, which I have some experience into, to middling results, then that's what I recommend. But I do think I'm very much a believer now that they have to be separate, as disappointing as that can feel.
Yeah, once you find a niche, I've tried it many times. My main YouTube channel is technology tutorials, and I've tried to veer from that multiple times. I tried talking and do this podcast on that channel. I tried to do some other stuff that was not directly related, some productivity stuff, because I, like you, I enjoy the productivity stuff. I consume a lot of that stuff. It just didn't work, and I built that channel to be an evergreen machine, and I'm very thankful that I did, because I still enjoy technology and I still enjoy doing the how-to videos, so I'm glad that I did that. But I did try a bunch of times, and then I realized if I want to do a podcast, then the podcast YouTube channel has to be different, it has to be separate. And I realized all of these things kind of the hard way by experimenting, and hopefully people listening to this can kind of figure it out. And that my YouTube channel, I've built it to where it will generate 50 to 80 to 100,000 views every day, and that's just kind of how I want my channel to run. And through sponsors and ad revenue, I've been able to kind of build a business and then into this podcast. And so I want to ask you now, I love this question, what is something that you wish you would have known sooner? Let's leave aside what we just talked about with that. We'll kind of put a pin in that. Other than that, what is something that around the YouTube channel that you would say to yourself, man, if I would have just done that or known this sooner, the channel would have took off even quicker or had more success?
And the specificity, the niche of it took a little bit to figure out. But I also think that unless you come into it with a defined expertise or idea of what you want to discuss, I think a lot of people kind of go through the rounds, put in the reps of figuring out okay, what is something that I enjoy talking about that people are also interested in hearing about or seeing from me. And that does take time for a lot of people. As most people that I talk to, most people in the Hey Creator community, most people that I've coached over the years, they have a few things that they're interested in. And I had a few things. So it's figuring out what of those few things is the convergence between what you're good at and what other people will watch or pay you for. So if I could have gotten to that faster, I would have. And I also, I wish I would have, and I've gotten much better at this, of looking at the thing that I'm moving into, YouTube in this example, and say what do I really want to build, and what do I really want either my content or my channel or my business to be about? Because I probably wouldn't have said up front that I want it to be about analog productivity methods. I just kind of fell into that. And maybe that's too specific, and maybe nobody thinks in those terms of specificities. But that's something that if I would have been a little bit more intentional about what I want the channel to be and how I can build it, because I still worked at ConvertKit and then Podia for 3 years after I started my channel. I didn't need, I started to generate revenue and that was great, but I didn't need for the channel to generate any kind of significant revenue for it to be something that I kept doing. I was making money somewhere else. And I think looking back, I would have tried to stick out more of the personality, vlog style, not necessarily in the way that it was 6-7 years ago with Casey and Emma Chamberlain. I think she was getting started around then, but looking at it more from an educational style vlog, not even quite like Gary Vee, but something that is more day in the life experiential while you're teaching something about your primary topic, instead of my bullet journal videos, and they're good. I'm even trying to make this more of my style going forward, and the kind of that Trojan horse method. But for years, they just felt like they were very much tutorial. I would do this, I had a system, and again, it worked, but it just got boring for me. And it wasn't something I was okay, am I going to do another plan with me video, because I wasn't somebody that drew or like colored on my pages. I was just like, hey, this is it. And it just felt like, all right, I said this 20 other times over the past 5 years. And so I think if I could have stuck with some more of the my personality and life experience as a way to like cultivate an interest in my work versus just like this tutorial that I was doing, that would have been something that could have been more sustainable, even though it probably would have taken more time for it to get. I still may not be close to 100K if I had done that, but I think it would have been just as profitable, because I think it would have been just as profitable and probably more enjoyable.
What does your video production system look like now, and how has it changed? So from start to finish, from scripting, preparation, to upload, to post-upload, what does it look like? What tools do you use, and how has that evolved over time?
I've definitely gotten a lot better at scripting than I was. I've always been like a comfortable riffer and off-the-cuff conversationalist, which works for a podcast, but I've realized that it's not as great for a YouTube video, because like I just churn through so much footage, for lack of a better term, and then like this thing that probably only took 7 minutes for me to say is 30 minutes worth of like recuts, because I didn't have as clear of a script as I wanted it to be. But early on, I almost always followed a really like simple process where I would shoot the like, you know, the headshot, intro and outro, and maybe a couple of like scenes in the middle, and then the next like 10 to 15 minutes would just be a rig that my friend Mike built. Shout out to Mike, that would like just point the camera straight down onto my desk. And then I would just like write out my plan, and I would talk through it. So I'd have like a lav mic, a Rode lav mic that I would just record, and I would shoot the video, and then I would edit that down and throw some music on it, and that was it. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And so I've used Final Cut Pro. I used iMovie for the first year. I use Final Cut Pro now. I have nothing against Premiere, other than that I don't want to pay the monthly fee. So my editor and YouTube co-conspirator, Tim Forkin, he's got a great channel, by the way. Very good modern vlog style. When he edits my videos, I know he uses Premiere. It's a very simple setup. Like if you I use a Canon M50, which I probably won't continue with. When I can get a Sony camera, or even like an upgraded Canon, I'll do that. But I've been using it for 3-4 years. It's a steady little rig. It's very, very slow for 4K. Like it just dies. I don't know how in depth do you want me to go on tools?
So, I mean, I understand that, you know, being someone in productivity, you probably have a lot of systems, and people love that kind of stuff. So,
Yep.
you know, you don't have to wax poetic about it for an hour, but just for, you know,
Sure.
just real quickly, you can talk about the different tools that you use.
Yeah, so obviously the bullet journal, because I do still use it, if not every day, then multiple days per week, because there is something for me, and this is kind of the crux of the channel, even as I've recommitted myself to it. I'm more productive and clear and focused when I write things down versus when I even just like throw them into a productivity app, whether it's like reminders on your iPhone, or if it's, you know, Notion or ClickUp or Things or whatever it might be. Just the act, especially for Notion. I love Notion. Notion is by far my favorite productivity software. But there's so much happening inside of Notion, and so many things that I could kind of poke around as, that even though I have spent lots of time putting together productivity templates in Notion that work really well, just in the process of opening it, like I might see a notification from somebody on my team, or I might like see something in the sidebars like, oh, I want to like do a different kind of journal entry, or I have an idea to write about, or I want to review this, you know, Readwise highlight. I can't make it. And
I
so
I'm
just
I'm
like,
I
yeah,
just want to interrupt you there briefly because you're kind of in the same space that I'm in. I found that I'm so much more productive when I'm working, when I have a to-do list, right? When I write it
yep,
down the night before and it's just a
hmm
simple to-do list. And I tried to do the to-do list in Notion and try to make Notion my everything. And I
yep.
realized it's just not that. It's great for databases and I use it for my video
Databases, content,
production.
it's amazing.
And for stuff like that, it's amazing, like you
Workflows.
said. But I found that if I want to get things done, I have the app that I love and I enjoy called
Hmm.
Things that is on
Yep,
my
things are
iPhone, on
great.
my Mac, and it's just a simple text-based list. And Notion is not any good at notes, so I wanted it to be
Right.
my note taker, but it's not. So I use Obsidian. I have for a long time now.
Yep.
It's a simple
Nice.
markdown type note,
Yep.
thing. I don't do the analog
Familiar
stuff, but
with
it's
it.
almost like it's analog. And so I'm with you. I get distracted by that. So I didn't mean to
Yep.
interrupt you, but I agree with you 100%.
No, I'm glad you brought it up. And because yeah, it's true. And it's something that even one like I'm a lot of times I make it even simpler. There's a tool called it's a note card called
Mm,
Analog by Jeff Sheldon. He runs UgMonk.
yep.
And
Heard of it.
so there it's fantastic. It's just I think you can put like, I don't know, 8 to 10 tasks down here. And I've talked with Jeff about this a bunch, and he's even thinking about maybe he didn't say this, but or maybe I suggested is like I've found that even though there are like spots for like 8 to 10 tasks on this card, if I put more than like 4 or 5 down, and I'm talking about like real things to do, not like update this or something that I just might like do without really thinking about it, send a reply, answer this email. I'm talking about like if I write down more than 3, 4, maybe 5, depending on the scope of that task, like it's just not going to get done and I end up punting them.
Mm,
So
yeah.
the way that I do often like balance these two is I do have like a page in Notion where I just throw tasks or ideas. And then that's the thing that I just come back to
Pull from,
when
yeah.
it's like, hey, this is because I don't want to have like sometimes I will in the bullet journal write down like here's like a catch-all page for tasks during the week, but I'll also throw those into Notion, or if like I'm working at a company or team obviously that uses something like ClickUp or whatever. So there is like some migration between tools there, but it's really
Yeah.
not until I write something down that it becomes a real thing that I'm supposed to do.
That's kind of what I do with the app Things that I mentioned a few
Hmm.
minutes ago. Is I have
Yeah.
the inbox and I'll just put everything there. I have to, as soon as I think about it, I put it in that inbox, and
Yep.
that is where I come to do all my processing of okay, what needs to be done today. So if I know it needs to be done today, it's on that today. It's on widgets on my phone, on my Mac. I don't see that inbox. I only
Hmm.
go to dump stuff in the inbox, and then when I want to get stuff done, I got some free time. Beginning of the week, end of the day, I'll pull from the inbox, kind of like what you said. So that's wonderful.
Yep.
Let's get back to the YouTube channel for a minute. How are you making money? Can you tell us
Yeah.
how do you make money from the YouTube channel, and on average, how much you might make on a month with the channel?
Yeah, and I'll share this in a couple of different ways. The channel itself, and maybe this is partially me, has the channel itself in terms of ad revenue has never been like a powerhouse for me.
Yeah.
My best year, my best year was like maybe $7,000-8,000 in AdSense, and that's when I was like, that was 2021. I was super committed to it. That was my first year as a full-time creator, and so that was the most that I earned. AdSense has always been like pretty much my lowest revenue stream. You know,
Mm.
$7,000-8,000 isn't nothing. I don't know if like the CPMS for productivity are like, but we don't have to get into all that. Make money through AdSense, through affiliates, so referring notebooks, referring like you know, bullet journal. Obviously, Bear and Fig is another one that I've used their notebooks a lot. So affiliates there, yeah, software affiliates, sponsorships, brand deals. Some of this like kind of ebbs and flows depending on how committed I am to the channel at a particular time. And I'll also say, like, just as a caveat, the last couple of years I've been much more focused on working, like partnering with other creators, doing like that operation side more so than the creator side. So I've been able to monetize my expertise in creator content and especially email marketing much easier and faster lately than YouTube itself. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing that I made the most money on when I was focused the most on YouTube were courses that people were buying on like productivity, time management, and then group coaching also. So that's kind of that was the stack for me, is that AdSense is always something that I liked. And then it was like AdSense, sponsorship, brand deals, courses, digital products, and then group coaching. And I'd always, my goal had always been to like do more of the, not passive, but more of the non coaching, non consulting work as a primary revenue stream. Like I said, coaching consulting services has continued to be like the thing that I can monetize the fastest and the easiest, even though it is the most time consuming. But that's kind of the value ladder, is someone would come in and they'd sign up for the newsletter, they'd sign up for like a PDF template, they may buy a pack of templates from me for less than $50, buy a course from anywhere from $100 to $300, and then the people who either got the most out of it or wanted the most help with it, then they would join a group coaching or cohort program, and I'd run those. I haven't run one in a couple of years, but I was running 2 or 3 of those per year. And you asked how much. I don't think I could like break it down that cleanly, but in the two years that I was the most focused on those two things, 2021 and 2022, I did 110,000 ish in 2021, and then in 2022 I had started taking on some more like consulting clients and operations. So caveat there. That year I did 145.
Right.
So,
Well,
yeah.
I appreciate you being so transparent with that. And instead of asking the normal last question that I ask, I want to ask you, because you are so ingrained in the email marketing side of things.
Yeah.
Should all creators have an email
Yes. Yep.
list? And I'm not necessarily saying a newsletter, because newsletters
I'm
can
glad you're
come
making
in.
that distinction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of these things can come in different shapes or forms, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are getting newsletter fatigue because a few years ago it was course fatigue.
Sure.
Now it's newsletter fatigue. And I think this stuff ebbs and flows. There was a time 3 or 4 years ago where people were like, oh, podcasting is peaking and it's only going to go down from here. And we've seen in the podcasting world, no, the past couple of years, podcasting has only gotten bigger. Ad revenue's only gotten bigger. And so, again, these things ebb and flow. So take that again with a grain of salt. But speak on having an email list and owning that list as a creator.
It's so important. I think my belief is that YouTube is the most valuable, important platform for creators, and that an email list is the most important asset that you can have as a creator. And those two, for me, have been the source of any success that I've had, that and the network that I've cultivated. But the thing that I'm so glad you said is like having an email list doesn't mean that you have to have like a weekly newsletter. I do think that your email list will be healthier and people will pay you more money, and that you will have a better business if you email them even once a month. And like I could come back on and talk about newsletter, like email marketing strategies for an hour, 45 minutes, easy peasy. But the thing that I'll leave you with is when you set up, I like Kit the most. Bias used to work there, love the team, love how they ship. There are other platforms which are great as well. But what I recommend you doing, even if you don't want to send a regular newsletter or updates or whatever you want to call it, and you can do this easily in Kit on their free plan, go create a landing page that just talks about what you do and how you can help people. Not a bio, what you do, how you can help people. And then what I recommend, and I can give you a resource, is like just set up a 3 to 4 email like follow-up sequence. And the way that you can source the content for those emails, especially as a YouTuber, but podcasters, anyone can do this. Basically create written versions of popular videos or messages that you've had in the past. And so like my first welcome series, even before I was like really doing a newsletter a ton, is like, hey, welcome to my newsletter. Let me tell you my productivity philosophy. Email 2, here's how I set goals. Email 3, here's how I block time to work on those goals. Email 4, here's how I track time so I know how long certain things like creating a YouTube video takes so that I can block time appropriately. Email 5, 6, and so on. But all of these weren't unique special emails. These were videos that I had created that I just repurposed basically into something that was more like writer friendly, newsletter friendly. So don't even think as you're setting this up, because what you want people to do is when they sign up, you don't want to just say like, hey, thanks for signing up, confirm your email, and they don't hear from you. Even if all you do is send them 3, 4, 5 emails in the first couple of weeks, that will do a lot to build trust for you. And then, if you're not a regular newsletter writer, you can always pick it back up. But I do recommend like sign up to Kit, create a landing page, and then create a 3, 4, 5 email follow-up sequence of like your best content that can live somewhere else. And that way people learn more about you right from the sign up, and then you can always contact more from there.
Yeah, and you own that list. It's something that I've done recently, and it's grown to, we're getting close to that 5,000 mark, and awesome. it's I had one that was way larger than that at one point, but I did it incorrectly, and I know there's a lot of things on there that were not I just knew I needed to start fresh, and so I did, and it's really been beneficial for my coaching business, for my podcasting business, and the interactions that I've had. I'm writing about 2 newsletters a month. I wanted to do 1 a week, but I'm getting down to about 2 a month now, once every other week. I'd like to get the cadence of once a week. I found that the interactions that I have are so personal, and these people who are getting it in their inbox is just like as if I'm emailing them, and we're having this connection. So it's a great way for a creator to really give a behind-the-scenes look of what they're doing. So I could not agree more. So again, guys, go check out Matt on his channel at MattragLand. Also, heycreator.com. All those links in his Instagram and YouTube channel and stuff will be down below in the description. Matt, thank you again for joining us, and best of luck to you and your future endeavors.
Thanks, Dusty. Same to you. Appreciate you having me on.